fishing, it's in my soul.
Welcome to the Salt Strong Podcast, disrupting fishing entertainment as you know it. Prepare to laugh. Prepare to get to know fishing legends in a whole new and unfiltered way. And on occasion, you might even learn a thing or two about fishing. Here's your host, Joe Simons. Like diamonds.
How to absolutely crush and disable fear and worry from your life. Hey everybody, Joe Simons, like diamonds, back again, Salt Strong Unchurched. This is a topic I know a lot about. If you've listened to any of my past podcasts where I talk about my 14-year battle with anxiety attacks, and I'm talking about daily anxiety attacks. For those of you that have dealt with it, you know the feeling. You know the feeling of helplessness. You know the feeling of just the lack of control, lack of freedom. And it's all the stuff that we appreciate in life, control and freedom and not living in fear. And it's something that basically attacks us day in and day out. Some people wake up with it and it's the first thing on their mind, where it's even debilitating to get out of bed. I know I've heard from a lot of you. I dealt with that. I have missed all kinds of things in my life, from events to weddings to hurting relationships, all because of fear and an underlying worry. And this is going to be a really important podcast, and not just for those of you who suffer from any type of anxiety attacks or panic attacks or just, debilitating anxiety, but just for anyone in life, because we all worry. It is something, I don't know why, but it is something that is just ingrained in every one of us. I've talked about in the past, so there's some people seem to deal with things better than others, but in general, there's always something that I guess we could say that we fear, that we're worrying about for whatever reason, justified or not. But what I'm about to share with you, I believe is one of the most helpful things. I've been kind of inundated in a great way with emails over the past about 30 days with people who have found some of my old anxiety videos, and some of them are actually having some amazing success just following really kind of this three-step program that I outlined there, and a few others haven't stuck with it long enough. It's not something that just happens after a week, unfortunately. And I know, trust me, I prayed over and over again that God, just take this away. I'll do anything, and that just wasn't in the cards. I needed to fight that battle and win it on my own. I needed to put in the time, just like, if you want to lose 30 pounds, you unfortunately just can't go to a gym once or twice and expect to lose all that. You can't just go running one day. Even if you ran 100 miles, you're still not going to lose all that weight in a day. So this is something that does take some time, but it got me reflecting a lot about my 10 plus years of dealing with all of that anxiety and with all that worry. And then I happened to get an email. I'm on an email list from this guy, Roy Williams in Texas, and he sends a little thing every Monday. And they're just kind of helpful little paragraphs. Sometimes they're stories, etc. And this one hit hard because it's something that I all of a sudden it hit me. I was like, man, I used to do that anytime I was just having a really tough day with anxiety and worry. And it's almost like I was kind of disabling it by kind of making it not important, right? I mean, obviously fear grows because of how we are feeding it inside of our head. We know if we start worrying about something over and over again, that's all we're talking about. That's all we're thinking about. We're literally just giving that worry, that fear fuel, right? That's the last thing you want to do. You want to almost kind of make fun of it and destroy it and completely disable it. And so here's what his email said. And I believe this is the secret. If you can just do this on a whiteboard, you can do it in your head. You can think through it. You can write it on a little journal, whatever it is. This is all you have to do. Anytime fear or worry starts creeping up. So imagine 3 buckets so 3 buckets lined up, and imagine there's a ceiling above it, and that's your worry, that's your feel, the thing hanging over your head, and there's 3 buckets. It's going to fall into one of these, right? Just like a raindrop, it's going to fall into one. It can't fall into all 3. It's going to fall into one. So once again, imagine 3 buckets laid out. And if you don't like buckets, you like something else, square panels, it doesn't matter. 3 buckets. the ceiling, which is the issue at hand, the thing hanging over your head, the thing weighing down on your shoulders right now or next week or whenever it might be. And the first bucket is 33%. And this first 33%, these are the things that we fear and worry about that never come to pass. So that bucket there, just imagine the 3 buckets on the left, that's 33%. You can put a little 33 up there in your head or whatever you're writing on. 33% in that left bucket. Those are things, if that little drop up there falls on that one, that's never going to come to pass. It's never even going to be an issue. And I mean, think about COVID. I'm not saying COVID was not a big deal and it didn't impact us all, because it did. But think about some of the things that you're worried about or were worried about last year, right? I talked to people who were, I'm talking freaking out. They were going to die. And if you're listening to this, clearly that didn't happen. You're still alive, right? I mean, think about some of the things that might even seem silly a year ago that you were worried about COVID, since that's still a hot topic and probably will continue to be for a while. But think about some of the crazy worry that we put ourselves through. Not to say some of it wasn't justified, because it was, but the majority of it wasn't. The majority of it was spun way out of control because of that same fuel that we fed it through the news and through the media and through our friends and through fake news and bad information, right? I mean, just think about that. So that first bucket is all that. It's that just junk. It's the stuff that never will happen. It will completely never come to pass. And that's a third of it. That's a third of every worry, every fear that ever goes through our head goes right into that bucket. So right there, that should feel better, right? So this is what I would start doing. I was like, all right, man, I'm really fearing this, and it would be something usually with me and anxiety in some kind of social place, where it'd be a wedding or church, or whatever. And I'd be like, you know what? There's a 1/3 chance that whatever I'm worried about right now, it's never even going to happen. It's a joke. And that felt good. It was a win for me. It kind of disabled the fear. The fear was probably like, no, don't put me in that bucket. Don't even associate me with that bucket. But really, this is all a mind play, right? I mean, fear and worry, they're not tangible. You can't touch them. They don't exist. They're 100% in your head. It's not like a table or a chair or something you can go touch. Fear and worry are 100% made up in your head. Think about that. Right there alone, that's once again, that goes in that little third bucket, that 33%. It's not even there. It's 100% fabricated, made up, complete storytelling nothing, right? And so why put yourself through all that fear and worry if you know there's at least a 33% chance that it's never even going to come past? It's literally just a fairy tale. It won't have an iota of change or difference or any impact in your life. So right there, I hope that makes you feel better. That alone, as I was going through a lot of my anxiety, was incredibly helpful. All right, let's move on to the next bucket. Next bucket also is 33. Let's just say 33.33% for those of you who are very analytical are going to try to call me out and say it wasn't 100. But the next 33%, these are things that are so inconsequential that even if they do get close to happening, they're not even worth the worry. So these are things that may or may not happen. Maybe they kind of morph into something else, but after it's all said and done, like a lot of things we worried about with COVID, they were so not even close to being real or hurtful or worrisome. They were inconsequential. It wasn't even worth it. It was a legit waste of time. Very similar to bucket number 1. So now we're talking about 66% of all worry, of all fear, is either not relevant, never even happened, or is such a small blip on the radar, it's completely inconsequential. It didn't even impact your life one iota. It was so small, it was a little blip, and you moved on and you laughed about it. So right there, I mean, do this every time that you're worrying about something, every time you're about to have an anxiety attack, every time that you're full of fear, do that. Look at these 2 buckets and start imagining your worry up there above, the thing hanging over your head, dripping into one of those 2, because that's most likely it is going to fall into one of those 2 things. Okay? Right there alone, boom! That should disable and cripple most fear and most worry out there. Now, the final 33%, 33.33%, these are things that might actually come to pass. But here's the deal, and this is really, really important. They can't be changed. No matter how much we worry, no matter how much fear and how much we pray on it, there are some things in life that are out of our control, that are in control of God. Right? This final 33%, these are things, once again, they cannot be changed no matter what we do, especially if we worry about it. I mean, how many times have you worried and been fearful about something? Did it help the situation? 0. So once again, throw that back in a bucket number 1 and number 2. But this 33%, this is where you have now a chance to flip the whole thing over on its head. Because this is where you have a chance. It's 33% where you can now trust in God that this is his bucket, that he's going to take care of you there, right? This is the stuff that you can't really change, that you have to now give to God. So 66% of it is stuff that is never going to happen or is inconsequential. There are 33% of things that you can't even change. So now's your chance to trust God and to replace that fear with faith. This is your chance to replace that fear and that worry with faith. That God, you know what, if this does happen, if this is something that's out of my control, I'm not going to give it fire. I'm not going to let it ruin my day or my week or however long I'm going to dwell upon this. I'm going to trust you. I'm going to turn this over to faith that God, you've got my back, that you have a path for me, that you have a story, that you're going to lift me up, that you're going to guide me, that you're going to walk with me, that you're going to lead me down the right path, even though I might understand it. That God, I trust you. And that's all, that's the prayer. That's all that you have to do. And the second that you have all three of those combined, once again, 66% is over in the corner. It's inconsequential. It's never going to happen. These are fears that you're literally just wasting your time with, that you're only hurting yourself. They're just completely make-believe, worthless things in your head. Get them out. Don't give them any ownership. Don't give them any fuel. Drop them in the bucket and kick the heck out of that bucket out of your life. The third bucket is God's bucket. That's the 33%. Once again, replace the fear with faith. Replace the fear with faith. Just remember that, because as soon as I started doing this with all the things in my life, it just got easier. A lot of people have said, with running a company that's fast growing and having its ups and downs, obviously, in any given month, and firing people and just raising a family and trying to be a good husband and just all the stuff, writing books that go on. People are like, man, you never seem like you're stressed out. And I'm not. I don't get stressed because of this. I start putting everything, and I actually visualize it just like I'm talking about right now. I mean, I literally try to visualize that particular fear and just letting it drop in one of those buckets. It might sound silly, but try it and see what happens. Whatever you're fearing right now, whatever comes up today or this week, literally just sit back on a couch like I'm doing right now. I'm sitting on a couch and I'm actually visualizing right here on the floor 3 buckets in some little, we'll call it a dark cloud if you want to. Maybe it's not a little raindrop, because this is bigger, right? I mean, there's the fear always seems bigger than we think it is. Let's say it's a massive rain cloud up there, and just imagine that cloud just hovering over one of those buckets and not even hurting you, to the point you can just kick it over and laugh about it. And now looking back at my life, not just from last year with the COVID stuff, but looking back when I went through all that anxiety, it literally fits in this 100%. Meaning every single worry, every fear I had fit into these 3 buckets, and the vast majority of it, at least 66, if not 70%, fit into those first 2 that were just things I don't even remember anymore. I'm wondering why I wasted so much time in my life worrying about such silly things that never even happened. And if they did, I don't even remember them now. And the other 33% were things that I needed to trust God in, that I needed him to bring some change in my life, that I needed him to put me on a different path. Very, very grateful that he did. So guys, I hope this is helpful. I know this is something that's going to be an ongoing thing. It's ongoing with me too. I can sit here all day long and say, oh yeah, I never have any fears and I never worried. And that's not true. I don't get stressed. about stuff, but fears definitely pop into my head. Worry pops into my head about my kids, about my wife, about our company, Salt Strong. I want all these things to grow, right? I want my kids to grow. I want them to develop. I want them to have a relationship with God. I want my wife and I want our relationship to grow. I want our company to grow and to thrive and make a massive impact, not just in the fishing world, but in the world. That's why I do these podcasts. I thoroughly enjoy doing it. It holds me more accountable, and quite honestly, a lot of this stuff is for me as well. It's good reminders. And that's why I love the emails from you guys, because I probably wouldn't have done this podcast if I'd not been hit with so many emails about anxiety and about fear. And it really just made me, just like anyone who's trying to coach someone else, it really made me go back to the well, if you will, and try to visualize, man, what did I do that worked? How did I get out of that rut? And this was it. The 3 buckets, the 3-bucket analogy, it flat out works, but you got to visualize it. You got to paint that picture, give that fear, don't give it an ownership and don't give it control of your life. Name it if you want to, and just watch that thing go down in those buckets and then flat out crush it. Do not let it have any hold over your life. Guys, if any of this was helpful, if there's anything I can pray over you on, let me know. My private email, they never get shared. It just comes directly to me. They're all directly into my private inbox. It's joe@saltstrong.com, joe@saltstrong.com. I really do love hearing from you. I try to get back with every person who writes me on these Unchurched episodes. And of course, if you want to go see the past episodes, you can go to saltstrong.com/unchurched and see all of the rest. But I would love to hear any stories you had. I'd love, even if it's 5 months later, and you're able to use this kind of 33.33% bucket strategy, and it works for you, and you own the fear, not the other way around. I love to hear stories like that. I want to celebrate with you. So, guys, I appreciate you, love you, and I'll talk to you on the next episode.
'Cause fishing, it's in my soul. It was passed down to me from the days of old. Find us on the water if there was a way. It's been said my papa, he wrote the book on catching big reds and 20-pound snook. I wish I knew all the things he knew today. For he's the reason why we are this way. And he put fishing in our soul.